Hello there, good evening, welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. A lucky escape as the clean-up continues in the Calder Valley after Storm Bert. We hear from the dad who rescued his baby from their sinking car.
It's his first birthday and Christmas next month, so I'm really grateful that we get to celebrate that as a family, because if things could have been different, then we might not have had that chance.
We're live in Hebden Bridge to look at the impact of this weekend's weather. Also tonight, looking back at the life of best-selling Leeds author Barbara Taylor Bradford, who's died at the age of 91. The RSPCA has described the increasing number of pets being abandoned in Yorkshire as alarming. And always smiling, a teenager from Huddersfield is shortlisted for a national award for the way she's dealt with cancer on top of many other health problems.
And with the sunshine today, there were a number of showers. Beth captured this beautiful rainbow on the River Aire earlier today. But what about the rest of the week? Don't miss that detailed forecast.
Hello there, good evening. It's the first Look North of the week. Thank you for your company tonight. A father who rescued his 11-month-old baby from floodwater in West Yorkshire has told Look North he's grateful that they can celebrate Christmas as a family. Andre Randalls pulled his son from the car as it became submerged on a flooded road in the Calder Valley. Just look at that. Some areas had a month's worth of rain over the weekend. A clean-up operation is now underway. Phil Bodmer is in Hebden Bridge for us now, where I think it's still raining, isn't it, Phil?
That's right, Amy. As you well know, it's been raining on and off here all day, and some of those showers have been on the hefty side. And of course, when it rains, people here understandably get a little bit nervous. This is Hebden water, which flows into the Calder. You can see it's flowing pretty quickly now there today. But I think tonight, Amy, there is a collective sense of relief that we didn't see what we've seen in recent years with flooding on a mass scale. But for one young father, as you mentioned earlier, really a lucky escape tonight.
For the citizens of the Calder Valley, clearing the roads of sludge from floodwater is a familiar feeling. On Saturday, sirens sounded as river levels swelled from snowmelt and rainfall in the wake of Storm Bert. In Todmorden, a dad had to pull his baby from the window of a car after the vehicle they were travelling in entered floodwater and quickly became submerged.
I had to carry him above head height because the water was up to about chest height, so I didn't want him to get wet and cold.
Did you fear for your life at that stage?
No, I didn't really think about how tragic it could have been until afterwards, when I'd seen the car was fully sunk, and I realised, oh well, what if he was in the back seat, because the back windows don't open as much as the front windows do. So I'm grateful that I put him in the passenger seat instead of the back.
Local businesses have also been impacted. At the Stubbing Wharf, they've spent the last 48 hours cleaning up and clearing out flood-damaged goods.
Well, the owners of this pub here in Hebden Bridge are really too busy to talk to us at the moment. You can see the electrical items that have had to be scrapped. The owner did tell us that the water level came up to here, so much of the floor has been flooded, and there's a lot of work to do, not least talking to the insurance companies, and that's why they're unable to talk to us today. But you can see this is just one business that's been affected by the latest floods here in the Calder Valley.
The combined effect of rapidly thawing snow and heavy rain pouring off the hills led to significant road closures and lengthy diversions.
We had 70 millimetres of rain in 14 hours, plus the snow melt from the tops. So we had about 100 millimetres of rain in 14 hours. The Calder Valley can't cope with that, but none of the rivers overtopped on this occasion. So all the flooding that we had was as a result of surface water not being able to get into the drains by one way or another.
The sound of flood sirens always sends a shiver down the spine of people living here. This time there is a palpable sense of relief. A repeat on the scale of the floods of 2015 and 2019 was avoided. That, of course, is of little consolation to those picking up the pieces now, but the memories of past events still haunt the Calder Valley. Well, Calderdale Council tonight has thanked everyone for their support and help with the clear up. They say they did have staff out clearing the gullies and the culverts ahead of the storm, but they say really the main reason for the flooding wasn't because of overspill from watercourses. It was mainly due to the volume of rain falling and surface water. The drains couldn't really cope. That's been the main problem. They did set up a respite centre here in Hebden Bridge for people who were flooded, but that does seem to be tonight, although it's still raining here, the worst is now over. Amy.
Yeah, let's hope so. Phil, thank you very much for that. And you mentioned the Environment Agency. We're going to hear from them now. They have thanked wardens for their work over the weekend on the ground. Jenny Cook from the EA said flood defences also played a part.
The challenge that we have in the Calder Valley is that this is what we call a rapid response catchment. So when we get heavy rain, this runs off very quickly from the steep sided slopes and into the river, causing very rapid river level rises. And it can also lead to the surface water drains becoming quite overwhelmed by the sheer amount of water. Now, the Mythenroyd flood alleviation scheme was complete in 2021. That better protects over 4,000 homes. We also have the completed Todmerton scheme that protects over 230 residential homes as well, better protects them. So we know that these flood alleviation schemes play a really important part of protecting the community, and without those schemes being in place, we would have seen a much greater impact from the storm over the weekend.
MP Josh Spencer-Glynn, the MP for Calder Valley, has today said how important it is to get flood defences built properly throughout the Calder Valley to protect more communities. So where are we at with that?
There is over a £200 million programme of further flood defence works to be completed in the valley. These schemes are in partnership with the Environment Agency, Calderdale Council, Yorkshire Water and other companies and volunteer groups that all support to make these important schemes happen.
And what about Hebden Bridge?
Hebden Bridge is a significantly complex scheme. Because we are working in the constraints of the valley, it means that the design and the construction of the scheme is quite a complex piece. In terms of the business case, which is the final step to receive the approval, the financial approval for the scheme, that is due to be complete in spring next year, and we will be looking to start the works in earnest the following year, so in 2026.
That was Jenny Cook from the Environment Agency speaking to me earlier. Paul is with us. Paul, how bad was it over the weekend?
Well, it was notable, but there were no records broken. Some of the figures are quite high. Gorpley Reservoir up near Todmorden, 99 millimetres over the course of the weekend. Pateley Bridge, 60 millimetres, which is around about 2/3 a month's worth of rain up there in Nidderdale. But the fact that none of the rivers flooded, and I think crucially, we've come off the back of 3 weeks worth of dry weather. And, some of the reservoirs act as extra capacity and they're not full either. So I think all in all, I didn't see any reports of any flooding other than local flooding caused by, as we've just heard, blocked drains. And I think one of the notable things was, and we keep seeing this over the years, the sheer intensity of these bursts of rain, the drains are really struggling to cope with it.
Any more to come?
It looks as though it's going to be pretty quiet. There'll be a few showers today and tonight, but the rest of the week and next weekend looks largely fine, which is great news.
Well, that will be great news for lots of people watching. Thanks, Paul. You are watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We look back at Leeds United's nail-biting 7-goal game against Swansea. But before that, Leeds-born author Barbara Taylor Bradford has died at the age of 91. Her novels include A Woman of Substance, which sold 30 million copies. In 2010, she was voted Yorkshire Woman of the Year. Abby Giola looks back at her life.
Barbara Taylor was born in inner-city Armley in Leeds in 1933. The daughter of an engineer, she left school at 15, starting as a typist, then reporter at the Yorkshire Evening Post. She went on to become one of the best-selling British-American novelists of all time, writing rags to riches stories featuring strong, independent-minded women.
The poor don't count, we're just rubbish.
The TV adaptation of Woman of Substance is still the most watched programme in Channel 4's history. Actress Jenny Seagrove played lead role of Emma Hart and paid tribute on social media today. A wonderful writer, human being and friend has gone. I adored her. Journalist Piers Morgan wrote, "Magnificent lady, trailblazing journalist, wonderful writer. R.I.P. Barbara. And Chancellor Rachel Reeves said she was one of Leeds' finest and a powerhouse of a woman. Barbara's own life story read like the plot of one of her novels. She found out her own grandmother had 3 illegitimate children with the Marquess of Ripon before ending up in the town's workhouse. As her own career flourished, Barbara lived in New York for more than half a century, but she made regular visits home. In 1990, she received an honorary degree from the University of Leeds, alongside celebrated playwright Alan Bennett. The two had been in the same infant class in pre-war Armley.
I think it is a great honour and I'm very touched. I just wish my parents were alive. My mother always wanted me to come to Leeds University, and of course I went to work on the Yorkshire Evening Post.
She reached a great age, but she was still very active, and she was still, until very recently, donating the manuscripts of her texts. So, you know, her archive was growing. So, yeah, it came as quite a shock to us to learn that she died.
Her 35 books sold 90 million copies worldwide and were avidly read in Yorkshire. In 2003, she returned to her native Armley to open the district's grandly refurbished library.
A funny story, somebody said to Bob recently, Barbara's the same today as she was when I knew her 30 years ago, and look how famous she is. And he laughed and said, but Barbara doesn't know she's famous. What he meant was it hasn't changed me. I'm still a girl from Leeds.
In 2007, she received an OBE from the late Queen. Barbara Taylor Bradford once said she wrote mostly about ordinary women who go on to achieve the extraordinary. She could hardly have described her own career more aptly.
Barbara Taylor Bradford, who's died at the age of 91. What a beautiful image that is as well. Next tonight, companies in our region have been telling us how hard they're working to survive after national insurance and minimum wage increases in the budget. Today, the Chancellor defended higher taxes on businesses, saying there was no alternative. Rachel Reeves was speaking to business leaders after criticism that many have been caught off guard by the rises. Ollie Constable reports.
It was a budget many small business owners didn't order. More public spending, partly paid for by an increase in taxes on businesses. At Marmaduke's in Sheffield, it's left a bitter taste in the mouth of owner Tim Nye.
It puts pressure on those really tight margins. The margins are much smaller than people imagine. So in our type of business, if you can make 5%, then you know, you'll be happy with that.
His 80 staff across 3 sites are set for a pay rise, but ultimately the cost will be passed on to the customer.
But we appreciate our customers are struggling as well. Certainly with the national insurance increase and with the minimum wage, some of it is going to have to be passed on. Because we wouldn't survive without doing that.
Today, the Confederation of British Industry says the tax changes are undermining investment at places such as this. But the Chancellor said they had no choice.
What I haven't heard are many alternatives. And we had to put the public finances on a firm footing to bring stability back to the economy. That's what I promised when I was Shadow Chancellor, that I would never play fast and loose with the public finances, because when you do, it's ordinary families and businesses that pay the price.
Profits are pay rises, health benefits, investment in technology. And if you're a small business, profits are survival. When you hit profits, you hit competitiveness, you hit investment, you hit growth.
Okay.
In Moulton in North Yorkshire, Clara says the budget wasn't as bad as she feared. At her handmade soap business, she was already planning for a rise in the national minimum wage. She says increased employment allowances and business rates relief will benefit her.
It definitely felt in the past as though government was all about mega corporates and big business, and that small businesses and the role they have, the significant proportion of UK employment that they provide, the innovation they bring, had been overlooked. But at least we feel that our voice is being heard by the Chancellor.
But back in Sheffield, Tim is hesitant about expanding.
We've been offered a couple of incredible sites in Manchester. Things were normal and might have gone for certainly one of them. But when the margins are so small, that's almost impossible.
New sites require a big investment, and the dough needs to come from somewhere to pay for it. Ollie Constable, BBC Look North in Sheffield.
Let's have a look at some other stories coming into our newsroom now. 2 men have been arrested on suspicion of murder after the death of a man in York. Police were called to a house near Haxby Road on Saturday after 2 men and a woman were found injured. All 3 were taken to hospital where one of the men died. 2 men remain in custody. The headliners for next year's Tramlines Festival have been announced today. Sheffield Brit band Pulp will open the festival, which returns in July alongside another local band, the Raytons and Kasabian. It'll be the first time Pulp have played at the festival, and the band's drummer Nick Banks explained why it's taken so long.
It's taken a while for the, I suppose, for the stars to align to enable us to do this. You know, we did some concerts last year, and we had such a good time, and it's been brilliant. I love going to Tramlines, and I think it's an amazing event for Sheffield and the wider region, and it's great to be able to get up on that stage and show them how it's done.
What a gig it will be. The stars have aligned, and you can hear more of that interview on BBC Radio Sheffield Breakfast Show tomorrow. Next tonight, take a look at these gorgeous poochers. They're so cute, aren't they? But the RSPCA has warned what it calls a shocking rise in the number of pets that have been abandoned. In total, the charity has dealt with more than 2,700 abandonments across Yorkshire and North Derbyshire in the last year. And you can see here there's been an increase since 2021. They range from 18% to almost 40%. The RSPCA believes the surge in pet ownership during COVID-19 lockdown and then the increasing financial hardship are to blame for those figures. Kathy Killick has been to a rescue centre in Sheffield to find out more.
7-month-old Milo is one of the lucky ones. He's found loving new owners and is making great strides in socialisation and training. He's back to see the RSPCA staff who saved him after he was found close to death, abandoned by the side of a canal. He was taped up in this box with 4 other pups in a bush on one of the hottest days in July. They were all lucky to survive.
It's terrible. There's always other options than just abandoning. Yeah, places like this will take them in, and there's lots of other helps, lots of charities and things that'll help. So yeah, I think abandoning them like the situation he did, it's totally not right.
I mean, I've been homeless myself, and I kind of look at it as the same with dogs, but they don't get the support that people do. I find it really upsetting and really difficult. I don't understand why anybody could do that to a dog, to be perfectly honest.
Sadly, though, abandoning animals is on the rise across the region. This adorable pair were found in bushes, very scared and stressed, and Freddie was left tied to a tree with a washing line. They're sad cases, but not uncommon, especially at this time of year. Christmas and the cost of living are squeezing household budgets so much, animals are being pushed out.
Every rescue centre at the minute is just overrun with all of the rescue animals that need to come in. Medical issues for the animals is one of the reasons why people rehome. They just can't afford it, and a lot of people come to us about needing food and stuff for their animals, so we have a food bank as well that we're partnered with. We can recommend to go to them as well.
Some of our viewers have told us it's very difficult to adopt from the RSPCA. What would you say to them?
They're not as strict as some people may think. It's based on the animal's needs. We obviously have to make sure that the animal's going to be happy, and so are you. Obviously, we don't want them being brought back again after being adopted because they have a lot more needs, I reckon, than a cat does. So cats seem to be, to me, are a lot more simple than dogs.
In response to the surge, the RSPCA has launched a Join the Christmas Rescue campaign, asking for donations and adopters to come forward. Because, as Milo proves, there can be happy endings.
Oh, it's like we've always had him now. Yeah, he's just part of the family. Yeah, he's lovely.
Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Yeah, let's hope some of them can be rehomed for Christmas. Let's turn to sport now. Sally's here. I'm surprised more fixtures weren't cancelled actually with the weather, Sally.
There were some very soggy pitches. There were some very sodden-looking players, yes, in football. Leeds United moved top of the Championship after a thrilling 7-goal game against Swansea. It was substitute Willie Gnonto who scored the injury-time winner for Leeds in a nail-biter of a match that could have gone either way. The 4-3 win takes the Whites top for the first time this season on goal difference.
The whole team wanted to win this game. We had the first time since ages. It feels like this, the chance for this club to be again top of the league. It's years ago that this club was in this spot, and we wanted this today so much. And for that, everyone let their heart out on the pitch.
In League One, Huddersfield extended their unbeaten run to 6 games with an eventful home victory over Charlton Athletic. Huddersfield scored first before Charlton equalised via a penalty, but then had a player sent off, taking them down to 10 men. In the second half, David Kasumu smashed home a left-footed drive from 18 yards to take the Terriers to a 2-1 win. And in League Two, Chesterfield beat Barrow 1-0 thanks to a late header from captain Jamie Grimes, taking them to 7th in the table. Whilst Harrogate Town came from behind to secure back-to-back League Two wins with a 2-1 victory over Gillingham, with Anthony O'Connor and Josh March converting chances in the second half to seal the points. Now in ice hockey, it was a weekend of mixed fortunes for the Sheffield Steelers. They beat Manchester Storm 8-3 on Saturday, but lost 4-2 at home to the Dundee Stars on Sunday. The defeat is the Steelers' 3rd consecutive loss on home ice, and they're missing several key players, including netminder Matt Greenfield, who's out injured for at least 2 weeks. Their next game is midweek as they travel to face the Cardiff Devils before hosting the Nottingham Panthers next Saturday. Now, famous riders from the equestrian world have been swapping 4 legs for 2 wheels in a cycling challenge to raise money for research into spinal injuries. The Olympic medalist Nicola Wilson, who has a spinal injury herself, gave her support to the fundraisers yesterday as they rode from her stable in Northallerton to Bramham. It's all in memory of event rider Caroline March, who died earlier this year following a life-changing horse riding accident. Today, the route continued through South Yorkshire to Chatsworth House in Derbyshire, which marks the halfway point of the challenge. Good luck to them.
Indeed, Sally, thank you. Meet Emily. She is from Huddersfield and she's been shortlisted for a national award for the way that she's dealt with cancer on top of many other health problems. The 16-year-old sustained a brain injury soon after birth. Then in February last year, she was diagnosed with bone cancer. Those who care for Emily says that she just keeps on smiling throughout. Olivia Richwold has been to meet her.
I'm going to win.
Emily Swales has endured a lot in her 16 years, but she's always kept smiling.
She's got lots and lots of happiness inside her. Get away. You're always smiling, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that everybody's noticed. She just smiles.
Emily has multiple disabilities, including cerebral palsy, global development delay, complex epilepsy, visual impairment and autism. They were caused by neonatal hypoglycemia and a cardiac arrest at just 3 days old. And as if that wasn't enough, Emily was diagnosed with bone cancer last year.
It just seems not fair because she's got enough to deal with without putting something else on her. So yeah, it was very hard at first to come to terms with that.
And how did she deal with it all?
She dealt with it really well. She's got this get up and go attitude, and the chemotherapy made her very poorly. She was very poorly while she was having that treatment, but again, smiled and just got on with it.
Now Emily has been shortlisted for a national award by the disability charity Sense. A team of judges will decide who is eventually named Sense's Young Person of the Year. Emily's parents are very proud.
Immensely proud of her. She's very special, but she's like holding a torch for other kids as well, because it's hard to get through cancer when you're mainstream, but when you've got additional needs, it's even harder.
Emily had 14 rounds of chemotherapy, 12 blood transfusions and 6 weeks of radiotherapy and is now in remission. Unfortunately, she remains in a wheelchair and has had to adapt to that too.
She was quite an active girl before, and we've had to look at ways that she can keep active while in a wheelchair. So she's been canoeing in a wheelchair, she's done climbing, she's done archery, she plays basketball. Very proud, but she deserves to be nominated because she's very clever and brave.
Certainly very brave, Emily. OK, Paul's here now with the forecast. Paul, I can't believe, if anyone follows Paul on social media, he's put his Christmas tree up. You're normally Mr Grinch. What's going on?
Embarrassing. Well, I mean, what do you do on a day like that? My choice was put the Christmas tree up or go to Meadowhall.
Oh, OK.
You know, what a choice. Would you like
You weren't going to part with your money, were you?
Definitely not. Right, this is a picture that sort of sums the weekend up. You can just see, you know, the water pouring off. The drains couldn't cope in some of those intense bursts, but I am pleased to report, you know, the rivers across Yorkshire did hold their banks. And, well, how many times do we see this these days? That's the River Ouse in York, obviously carrying all that water from the Pennines through the city, and it's still quite high, but it is falling. Keep the pictures coming in. The address is out on your screen right now, X, Instagram, and on the Weather Watcher website. So I'm pleased to report it does look a fairly quiet week. There will be a few showers around, especially across the Pennines tonight and again tomorrow. Other than that, a lot of dry weather under the influence of high pressure. This feature coming up will probably stay to the south of us, might bring a bit of patch of rain to the Midlands, otherwise it's fine. Then high pressure remains in charge, and at the moment it looks like it's going to be with us not just through this week, but the weekend as well. So that's good news for dry weather lovers. Now, we've had a really annoying line of showers through West Yorkshire. Bradford and Leeds had a line that lasted 2 or 3 hours, and it's pepping back up again. So I think through this evening and overnight, it will be Pennine areas, especially of West Yorkshire, at risk from further scattered showers, but I think certainly further east it does look dry with clear spells. Temperatures low enough for a frost, 1 or 2 icy patches rurally with close to freezing point in the towns and cities nearer 3 or 4 degrees. Tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough at midnight and again at 1:10. So I think certainly in the morning there will be a scattering of showers across the Pennines. Elsewhere, really, it's a lovely day. Central and eastern parts of our region dry with some sunshine, and I think even the showers in the west will become more isolated. Most places becoming dry through the afternoon. Night will be windy this evening and overnight, but tomorrow those winds will ease significantly. Temperatures a bit below average for the end of November. 8 Celsius is 46 Fahrenheit. Wednesday looks mostly dry with some sunshine, a bit more cloud later, and then Thursday through to the weekend looks dry with some sunshine. Just ignore those snow symbols. That's actually the wrong graphic. That's the forecast.
You mean you made a mistake again, Paul?
No, the computer has made a mistake. Thank you very much.
Always someone else's fault.
Correct.
Thank you for that, Paul. Well, that is it from us. Keely's here with your late news this evening. Carol singing tomorrow night, is it? Now you're in the spirit.
Oh, yes, go on then.